On ADIL, IDL secures U.S.-based manufacturing through agreements with Cambrex and Thermo Fisher Scientific. RSLS granted key international patent in Australia.
Good morning, guys. Sorry, just had to make a little espresso there. Is John Cena hosting this? No. John Cena is not the host. Yeah, MSTR is going up. MSTR is going up. I don't like it just yet. For me, it's still got to clear 523's high of 392.56. When it does that, I'll be much more interested in it. What's my thoughts on PanW? It better get moving today because I own it. That's what I think. Better get moving today. Same with CrowdStrike. You know, they both had this little pullback yesterday, you know, while the market was going higher. So that's never fun to see your stocks pulling back while the market's going higher. So, you know, I'd like to see it go today, you know, come out of the inside day for a name like CrowdStrike. Yeah, thoughts on QS? Well, here's the issue with QS. Has it ever really held gains? So AMD was really nice. Looks really good. I mean, I would let it set up above the 200 simple moving average a little bit better before really getting involved in that name. You know, but the run possibly hasn't even started there yet. Shopify looks pretty dang good. You know, it had to shake me out first. So, you know, maybe a little pullback into 60-minute support. Oklo, I think can come back. You know, they're running an offering, and this thing looks pretty strong still. Same with SMR. How do I use progressive exposure? Yeah, that's a great question. So the way I like to think about it is, you know, start off with like if you have zero traction in the market, start with like, you know, 5 to 8% position sizes, maybe even 10%, but it's all ADR dependent. And then, as you gain traction in one position and a second position and a third position, you're looking for more and more and more. That doesn't mean, and if you're in a really healthy market, which we are, you can go to, 10, 15%, again, ADR dependent, but don't just start sizing up super massive when you've got no traction. COHR needs to set up above the 200. I saw this one yesterday. ANET, same deal. The fact they're not already above the 200 simple moving average is not the best look. Yeah, I saw Reddit yesterday. Reddit was going in after hours. Reddit looks better than COHR and ANET. I don't hate it. I just don't want to chase a gap up right now. How do I personally build a playbook? Your playbook should really be setups that you typically take, that you're comfortable trading. That's how you would build a playbook. So like, what's your normal setup that you see on the daily work, right? Whether it's an earnings gap up or a high volume close or an undercut and rally, and then you have to study the environment in which those setups worked in. And literally go stock by stock. And, you look at a stock that made a really big move, and then you ask yourself, like, go bar by bar. And then you say to yourself, like, what caused this move? Was it earnings? What group were they in? How was the rest of the group acting? What was the market like during this time? You have to kind of do that hard work. I know, it seems tedious, but how does my approach change now that we're at all-time highs? A lot of names are extended, how quickly, something like Coin got or Hood got. But the thing is the market's still really good with banks and semiconductors. So, just try to continue to get yourself involved in on the market. And if, see if there's traction to be had with smaller positions and continue to build yourself in. Don't think about individual names. Think about the market here. And the market's definitely in an uptrend. A VRSN's just slow. Not an ugly looking chart. It's just a little slow. Yeah, NBIS actually looks pretty good. I thought it was pretty good yesterday, even the day before against this 20 simple moving average. In this environment right now, buying stocks against ascending moving averages to me seems like the smartest move. What do I think about Indo? I think it's dog shit, garbage, hot trash, terrible, disgusting. Stocks that do this don't even belong to be on your radar. That's just me putting it nicely, being respectful to Indo and the business they built. Nothing. Garbage. Loner, I've done a few interviews where I talk about that stuff, or, I go over it all day long in the room. TKO, this one, let's take a peek. I did see this one the other day. I mean, it's nothing wrong with this chart. Plenty liquid, plenty fast. Not extended. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. I don't know that it looks explosive from here, but you're so close to all-time high. Wouldn't be too surprised if we get there. My thoughts on App Lovin'. Recently kind of weak with the pullback, but could it just be bouncing off the 50 simple moving average? Yeah, it's possible. They keep getting attacked with these short reports. So, let it maybe reclaim the 20, go sideways a little bit, build out the right-hand side of the chart. I don't think this chart's dead. Yeah, I like TEM. In fact, yeah, I personally like TEM. I was in it and cut it. Doesn't look bad at all, personally. I think this thing looks pretty good. Trying to, bounce off the 10. ASML, dude, Jax, good morning, man. ASML shook me out the other day. I tried to buy this thing as a higher low setup right here and just no traction. And then the next day shook me out. And then obviously, had this big shakeout candle. And then Monday, Tuesday, absolute rockets. I love ASML as a business. This name's 1,000 plus in my opinion. More, way more. Yeah, NBIS yesterday I thought was fair to buy. I liked it personally. No, I did see Circle though. I did almost short that 245 level. I mean, it was crystal clear how many times this thing was holding at that 245 level. As soon as it gave way, smoked. And I definitely was watching it right here. Shout out to Kyle Williams who made the David Goggins tweet, with buyers holding that 245 level, and then it got absolutely smoked. What are my favorite 2-3 charts right now that I'm not in? Boy, could it be like a name that I wish I were in? I got shaken out of coin. I owned it at 251, and I got shaken out 2 days later. Hood, I owned it at 50 on earnings, and I got shaken out the next day. I mean, those are damn good ones. CLS, I owned it at 100. But names that I'm not in that are a bit more like actual setups, ready to go. Toast, Shopify, ASML, probably. I mean, there's a lot of good names. Dude, there's so many good names out there right now. It's so many. China names shaping up. Yeah, I talked about Futu yesterday in the watch list video, and then just this, big gap up overnight, unfortunately. So not going to chase gap ups out here. I prefer a little gap down and then something to come through my pivot. Much easier. NRG, yeah, NRG is looking pretty good. I mean, kind of lagging a little bit at this point, but it's in the energy space, and energy just got killed. There are a few names that are, holding up super well. I mean, I don't believe this is a crude oil name. I don't know. No, utilities, which makes sense. Utilities is group number 1 right now. Utilities, this is moving more with like CEG, VST, and GEV. Yeah. Yeah, coin kind of hurts, man. I bought this thing over $100 lower. I bought this on 6.3 and got shaken out 2 days ago on 6.5. And then it goes. Shame. Oh, 10, maybe 12 in a hot market. How many names do I? hold 10 or 12. Yeah, IBKR is in a good group. IBKR is, in this like finance group. I think, I mean, I really like this base. I own JP Morgan, and well, would you believe it that I got shaken out at a 268 right in here? And then again, a few days later, I got shaken out. I mean, it just sucks. I didn't rebuy at 270. I thought was still the level 269.52. Definitely buyable on 618. And man, it's just annoying. That's for sure. Bro's a bit of a laggard. Trying to hold on to the 50 for dear life. Yeah, I like ASML. I like their business a ton. CRDO, it's in a good group, guys. That's half the battle, is make sure you're focused on leading groups. Leading groups take you to really nice moves. When you're focused on semis, when you're focused on banks, when you're focused on cybersecurity, when you're focused on, the leading group, you're going to catch yourself uptrends in an up market, right? You're going to catch yourself the best moves. So you're at least doing the right thing. You didn't buy CRDO just like me for, whatever reason you did or didn't buy it. But definitely nice. Definitely nice. I mean, again, big V-shaped recovery. I mean, big V-shaped recoveries like this, I need some sideways. At least for instance, AVGO gave some sideways right in here. Right? At least, KLAC gave some sideways right in here. Right? LRCX gave some sideways. TSM did the exact same thing. TSM's another one. Would you believe it that I got shaken out? I tried to buy this little gap and go 202, didn't close well, so I let it go, and then just kind of kept grinding higher without me. Super annoying, man. I could list a gazillion charts that have done that to me. Dash is another one. I mean, I wouldn't be buying this Nvidia breakout without some digestion. I mean, could it break out and keep going? Yeah, sure. But, I don't really like buying these channels. I prefer, to buy a flat base breakout, or a high type flag or some kind of some better digestion. ABCL and Toast. Abcel is a small cap that is just on fire and running, and Toast looks like an actual base. Sale, not bad. Saw this one yesterday. Little thin. Trades pretty thin intraday, but I mean, these IPOs have been running hot lately. Yeah, Cores, Iron, Hut. Those are the three that have my interest for that Bitcoin, smaller cap, mid cap. Iron's probably my favorite of the bunch. Yeah, I'm focused a bit more on Iron, but yeah, Cores and Hut. AVGO is not too extended. Maybe a little pullback into rising 60-minute support. It's not that extended. A little bit. We'll see. Think about things in terms of percentage. Don't think about the dollar amount. So yeah, everything's a percentage. Man, snow's another one. I had this thing at 205 and it just literally did nothing. I bought this on 527 and for days it just had no power. And in here, I'm just like, all right, this is getting annoying, right? I've owned it for like 10 days and it's not moving. And then sure enough, but what am I going to do, man? How come I don't use Bollinger Bands? Because I don't want any more squiggly lines on my screens. What do I think of Palantir here? It's in an uptrend. New all-time closing high yesterday, and definitely looks like it's breaking out. I mean, depends where you owned it from. Yeah, Uber's definitely interesting. We'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, I've got a few journaling platforms. Yeah, I stopped really journaling my trades. I only journal them now so I can share them, so I can share them with other people. What do I think about UEC? It's the laggard in the group. You got that right. UEC's the laggard. CCJ is your leader. It's my number one favorite setup. Market dependent, but my number one favorite setup is the flat base breakout. Something just like ARC. Just like that. Nice little move up, nice sideways digestion, breakout over prior day high on a pickup in volume. Easiest setup on planet Earth to master. And I'm still sitting in it. I mean, just absolutely perfect. No rocket science, no bachelor's degree required. How specific was my trade review process? I don't know, man. It's a great question. I don't know. How specific was my trade review process? I mean, I went over all my trades, in particular my losing trades, because there's always something to learn from the losers. Did I trim any early? Yeah, I trimmed some mark already. I'm already trimmed down to my trail position. Now I can just hold it for the eternity. No, now I can just continue to hold it on the 10 simple moving average for now. Hopefully soon the 20, but just not yet. Definitely trimmed on ARC. Yeah, in fact, I did. I bought ARC on this day here when it was trying to poke its little head out, and I got stopped out that same day. I bought this here, and then I took my loss in here. So, and then I rebought it the next day. What do I think of five below? These stores, like the discount stores, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and then even Ali. These discount retailers are actually performing really well, with Ali being your leader. LAES forming a flat base. They're totally hot trash company. I mean, could they go higher because we're in a hot market? Yeah, maybe, but they're garbage. You don't want to own garbage, man. I mean, unless you do. SRFM, was this the one that Palantir bought a bunch of shares of? Yeah, I mean, let it establish itself above the 200 for a while. This thing's not even in an uptrend. Yeah, I talked about NRG. It's in the number one group in the market right now, which is utilities. Number one. Yeah, QS gapping up, but I've never known QS to hold any gains. QS is one of those where it gaps up and then gets smoked. Yeah, FTNT. Yeah, they're in the right group. Cybersecurity. Leaders are Zscaler, CrowdStrike, PanW, and then even CYBR and Net. Those are your leaders. FTNT at this point, a bit of a laggard in the group, but could it go if the group keeps acting well? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I saw the volume on BBAI yesterday. Stream starts at 7:30 Central Time, so 8:30 Eastern. I saw the volume come in on BBAI yesterday. Not sure what they did. I don't know what the news was. I didn't see any. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, thoughts on Pony? I talked about this one yesterday too. They've got that they're self-driving, and I thought with Uber going yesterday, it was interesting to see Pony, and then of course, you get a little gap up this morning. Webull, it's a laggard. Yeah, garbage. I mean, this thing was $80 and came all the way back to 10. It's garbage. Let it establish itself in an uptrend first. This thing's not in an uptrend because it's got like one little up day. Hot trash, dude. Leave it alone. Yeah, too far gone here, man. TTMI, too far gone. Let it tighten up again. It's up 30% from its 50 simple moving average. Let it tighten. Yeah, I saw this one yesterday too. I mean, looks fine. Looks like a momentum name. Found some support on the rising 20. Just kind of a random mover, but looks good. Affirm. Yeah, Affirm looks okay too. Affirm looks fine. I saw Upstart too. These they basically move as a group. So Affirm and Upstart for some reason. Yeah, it looks like the housing names might be establishing a bottom, potentially solar too. So BLDR, I saw LEN, Toll, but I wouldn't go buying stocks underneath the 200 right now. You don't need to do that. On a high conviction swing, I don't normally trim. I just trail. And if I trim, maybe 20%. Yeah, APLD, I've had this one on radar too. Well, Abdullah, it's because this is my career, man. This is literally what I do for a living. It's my job to know. I make it my job to know. I don't know that too many humans, sit at their desk as long as I do. Yeah, Twilio, I've been looking at this one and it just doesn't seem like it's got an explosive setup. I mean, I didn't really like this wedging channel here. And this little breakdown definitely helps shake a few hands and then, looks better, but kind of like Take Two, where it's like just grinding higher, but it doesn't have an explosive look, unfortunately. Yeah, NRG, Isaac, we talked about this one already. It's in the number one group in the market, which is utilities at the moment. SMCI looked like it had broken out and then gapped down into the range again. Do you ever scroll down to a smaller time frame to look for a re-entry? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't just take my eyes off, but they've got a open offering, if I'm not mistaken. Probably could churn through $2.8 billion fairly quickly, but we'll see. Arlo, the camera company. The first place I ever talked about Arlo, right here. Unbelievable. Arlo, nice comeback. CDE Core Mining. Yeah, I think Core's a bit of a laggard. Well, actually, not so much anymore. I was going to say compared to AG, but they both look fairly similar. In fact, CDE actually looks a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, problem is these are gold and silver dependent. So, if silver's not acting right on the day, and right now it's just hugging its 20 simple moving average, and then gold, same deal, hugging its 50 simple moving average. These names are gold and silver dependent. If gold and silver aren't acting well, your core, your AG, your KGC, your EGO, they're not going to be acting all that well. What's my game plan for APLD? Well, considering core, we've sold the rest of their shares. Nothing. Let it show a little bit more strength and build a higher low. Yeah, Tesla. Yep. I bought Tesla 293. I finally sold a little bit on 220 or 528, and then I sold the rest at 330 on 6.4, and I avoided this catastrophe. Nvidia at $500 was another one. When it was technically it's 50 now, but $500. Bought it on this day, 1.5, added some more 1.8, and then I didn't get trims off until somewhere up here, and then the final day right up here, 3.8. Wish somebody was told me it was going to go, another 30% from there, but I use SMAs on the daily always. SMAs on the daily, EMAs on a smaller time frame. When a stock has a breakout day, will you enter the following day or just consider it gone? No. I like buying what are called high volume closes as well. So like, especially after earnings. So good example recently is Sezzle. So you get this gap up on earnings on high volume, and that's a breakout. And then you take the close 74.98 and you come in and you buy it the next day over that level, and then you are gone, right? And then Dave, same deal. Right? You get the high volume close, a gap up, and then the next day you buy the close over the close. Doesn't have to be the next day. Sometimes could be a few days later. Like I remember this Palantir back here. You get this gap up, and then you get the close 103 and change, and then it doesn't go the next day. It goes the following day, and then there's your entry, and then makes a really nice move from 103 to 120s. How the hell did you get shaken out of Sezzle? Doesn't even seem possible. I do add to my positions, but I need the daily to set up again. Otherwise, I don't. Do I think Oracle's ready to break out? Oracle's already broken out. Oracle broke out, looks like a long while ago. Could it go higher out of this little flag? Yeah, maybe. Bit extended though. I don't know that I would be buying. I'm not a buyer up here of Oracle. Too far gone. Green shoots, I don't know what you're asking even yesterday. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I'm not sure. Oklahom's going this morning. Oklahom's trying to go this morning. You know, I wouldn't be too surprised to see this thing back up at 70. It's been a big time momentum mover. Yeah, if you're going to be buying names in this current market, I think buying them, out of off of ascending moving averages is the best spot, in my opinion, in the current market. APLD might be in the same theme. I mean, APLD is like a data center construction company, from what I understand. But CoreWeave sold their whole position, which is part of the reason I thought they were running up to begin with. Yeah, I love ASML, got shaken out of them. And then NBIS I thought was viable 2 days ago off of the ascending 20, or yesterday even. What's the minimum/maximum risk that I put a total account risk? I mean, dude, I normally never take even a 1% loss. It's rare that I even have a 1% loss of my portfolio on a trade. SMR looks fine. They're moving together as a group, SMR, NNE, Oklo. If one's moving, seems like they're all moving. And there is no minimum risk that I risk per trade. Like I don't have to risk 0.5, I could risk 0.2. It really just depends the setup. What do I use for news? I use my earnings gappers, and then I use Trade Exchange. Would I consider taking CRML? No, I saw this one moving as a sympathy the other day, but no, dude, this thing trades $13 million a day. I mean, I've taken positions larger than this in my career. So, this won't move the needle in my account, even if I bought 100,000 shares and it doubled, right? I mean, and I wouldn't buy 100,000 shares of this turd. I'm trying to have $1 million positions on, dude. And that would require me taking 400,000 shares of CRML. I would never do that. So it's just wouldn't move the needle in my portfolio. So could it go higher? For sure, but it's definitely not for me. Do I ever use leverage? Yeah, but the market has to basically allow me to use leverage. In other words, I have to be in a really, really good environment. Yeah, AVAV's fine. It just doesn't look all that special, but it's going to have to get going over like 198 bucks. Oh, and it is. It's gapping up this morning on earnings. Good. 204. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe a 5-minute opening range break on this thing, or you just let it close today, and then you come back for it on a high volume close. It's not TCM, it's TMC, my friend. Too thin. ECG is too thin. Trades 20 million bucks a day. Yeah, I'm definitely watching Toast. Yeah, MP, Metamaterials. Yeah, I would leave this one alone for now. Too extended. No real setup here. And then TMC. Gap up, I think. I forget what was their news. Some price target increase or some positive note or something. Upgraded to outperform by Wedbush. Got it. That's what it was. MSTR probably could go up to 392 today, but I wouldn't be a buyer once it got up there. That would be a little too much. Yeah, I've experienced something like that with him. Just nothing you can do. Cut your position early. I mean, I know people who would ask me like, what would I do with it now when it was like, 52 bucks. I would have cut it right then and there. I wouldn't have asked questions. I wouldn't have hoped and prayed. I would have gotten out right away. You don't just sit around. You don't just sit around while something's getting its ass kicked like that on bad news. You get rid of it right away. And then you'd have saved yourself another 10 bucks a share. Sorry to discuss SRAD. I mean, dude, this thing had like one nice setup in its life. Another one, earnings gap up, high volume close. Couple nice setups. Here, this is just turned into trash to own this thing. This is fucking miserable. 3 months of this, although it's grinding higher, no thanks. How long did it take to become consistently profitable? Well, I started as a day trader, so I became consistently profitable within the first few months, but it was in a super hot market, right? So it's not like I was some kind of a genius. It was just the right market. Yeah, K-Web looks good. Futu, I was talking about yesterday on the watch list video, but just gapped up a little bit too much. Just gapped up a little too much. Thoughts on InnoData? Did not like that action yesterday. Still fine though. Some more sideways digestion here is good. Probably could go higher down the road. Yeah, VRT. Yeah, it's hanging in there. I don't love these channels. I just don't buy breakouts from these channels. Yeah, Tempest looks good. Tempest looks good. One on watch today. Yep. Crowd's another one. Looks pretty good today as well, too. Also on watch. It's just grinding higher, but not one that I'll be playing for Twilio. It's just grinding higher. No. Why would you even be looking at Moo, bro? What? This thing trades $4 million a day and moves 0.87. This shouldn't even be on your radar. Yeah, nice. There's a lot of charts that are near 52-week and all-time highs right now, which is really good. It's what you want to see. My buys come from the homework I do the night before. You're long since the end of April and up what? About 4% on your position. Meanwhile, Hood's up 100. No good. Yeah, Judah, I'm watching Tesla as well. Hopefully this thing can get going. And we'll see. I'd like to add to it, but just not right now. Yeah, I think Toast is playable. I would just wait for the first like 15 minutes of market open for things to settle, or look for a 5-minute opening range break. Got a couple options for sure. Hot. The hell was that? Yeah, dude, John, you don't want to be in those 0.7% mover. What is that? What kind of imagine, dude? That's so slow. Meanwhile, your money could be in a name like Uber or CrowdStrike or Palantir or Coin or Nvidia or AMD or anything else on planet Earth, and you'd be up more than 7%. Cypher, another Bitcoin name. It's, let it get above the 200, right? You see this little red line here? How come Iron's above and Hutch trying to get above and Cores is above, but you're looking at the one that's below? Yeah, Eat looks fine with Wing. It looks fine with Shack. It looks fine with Cake. There's a handful of these that look pretty dang good on the food side. AVAV looks fine. Coin, what a huge move today, man. Only another $20 from last night's close. What the hell? Bitcoin, very nice. 108,000. Unity price action sucks. Thought I'd throw that out there. Zoom out on Unity. I mean, it hasn't really even moved for like over a year. QSI trash, dude. They're not even a quantum company. They're some quantum protein sequencing, not real, totally fake, fugazi. Leave them alone. They shouldn't even be on your radar. Throw them in the trash, dude. Yeah, I would rather prioritize on trading momentum stocks. Why would you want to trade stocks coming from turnaround situations? Focus on things that are going up, or that are in leading groups. Leading groups. All right, guys, I got to get ready for stream. I appreciate you guys for being here. Tomorrow, back in 23 hours, 7:30 in the morning Central Time, 8:30 Eastern. Yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. Tons of questions today. You guys are awesome. And I will see you guys tomorrow bright and early. Trade them well.